Magic School Bus in the Haunted Museum. In Miss Frizzle's class, we were getting ready for a concert at the Sound Museum, but something was wrong. It was the instrument that Carlos had made. It looked terrific, but as Ralphie said, it sounded ploopy. How could we play concerto for an invented instrument with a ploopy sound? Miss Frizzle was the only one who didn't seem worried. She encouraged Carlos by saying, "Just keep asking questions and you'll keep getting answers." Then she hustled us into the school bus. We were late for the dress rehearsal of our concert. We had to get to the Sound Museum in a hurry. During the ride, Carlos worked on his instrument. "I don't think it's getting better," said Dorothy Ann. "He needs more time," agreed Tim. That's when the bus began acting strangely. This happens a lot when Miss Frizzle drives. Suddenly the bus overheated. "We're stuck," said Phoebe. We'll miss the dress rehearsal," said Dorothy Ann. "I'll pull the bus," cried Miss Frizzle, "and you can push." While we pushed, Carlos kept working. His instrument looked better and better. It sounded worse and worse. Meanwhile, we kept hearing all these spooky sounds. Then we heard a different sound. Miss Frizz called out, "Maleficus!" It was coming from the old creepy house. We wanted to get back on the bus, but the Frizz cried, "Take chances and make mistakes." Then she rang the doorbell. Boy, did it sound off. Carlos heard the amazing sound too. "Listen to that. I need to find out what's making that sound," said Carlos. "I knew I should have stayed home today," Arnold said. When the door swung open, Carlos and Miss Frizzle walked right in. The rest of the class followed. "Hello," called Miss Frizzle. "Hello," her voice echoed back to us. No one greeted us. The door swung shut and it wouldn't open. We were stuck in the house. "Here's a phone book," said Dorothy Ann. "Maybe we can call for help." When Dorothy Ann opened a phone book, it rang. The Frizz opened other books. We heard foghorns, roars, whispers, screams, and some crazy laughter. The books were filled with sounds. "I wonder who lives here," said Keisha nervously. Then Miss Frizzle told us about the owner, Professor Cornelia Contralto. Cornelia was an eccentric collector of sounds, she explained. She disappeared about 100 years ago. We weren't surprised. Who would want to live in this house? "Class," said Miss Frisk, "this house is actually the Sound Museum." That did surprise us, especially since the museum was closed for the night we were in it. "We have the whole place to ourselves," said Miss Frizzle. "Great," said Carlos. Not everyone was so happy. Ralphie was worried about Professor Cornelia Contralto. "I bet she's a ghost," he said. "Maybe she's in the house, seeking out the perfect sound." That was an interesting thought. The house was full of surprising sounds. It was time for bed. The museum just happened to have enough kid-sized beds for everyone. We got away under the covers. Carlos was still thinking about his instrument. So far, nothing had improved it. "Cornelia, if you're out there, will you help me make this thing sound right?" he said. We heard that sound again. Someone or something had answered Carlos. He ran from the room to see what it was. We scrambled after Carlos. Before we could stop him, he had opened a door. And we were in a strange room. Every time we turned around, we saw something different. We ran from a jungle to the mountains. Miss Frizzle was there, yodeling. Her yodel bounced from one mountain to another. It was an echo. From there, we tumbled into the giant room. It was full of gigantic musical instruments. Dorothy Ann pulled the string of a harp. The string moved back and forth and made a musical sound. Miss Frizzle said, "That movement is a vibration." Keisha added, "When the string stops vibrating, the sound stops." Carlos asked, "Are we all making sounds by something vibrating?" It didn't take long to find out. Tim and Phoebe played the drum by making it vibrate. Wanda rang the gong by making it vibrate. They not only heard the sound, they felt it too. Then Miss Frizzle rang a giant bell. The vibrations filled the room. Suddenly the wall cracked open. We followed the Frizz through the wall and onto the stage. Miss Frizzle gave Carlos some funny-looking glasses. They must have been magic. They let Carlos see sound waves. "Sound waves look like ripples in a pond," he cried. "They're circles within circles moving outward." We all put on the magic glasses. It was fun making sounds and watching the vibrations. The sound waves started in one place and moved out in all directions. Miss Frizzle showed us something else. First she sang a high note. The circles came out close together. Next she sang a low note. The circles were further apart. "Class," said the Frizz, "the high sounds are made when something vibrates fast. Low sounds are made when something vibrates more slowly." Then Carlos got a really soundproof idea. It doesn't matter how my instrument looks. What matters is how it vibrates. He dashed to the bedroom. His instrument was gone. Uh-oh, it's gone. We were nervous. We heard that amazing sound again. Then the lights went out. That sound's coming from the closet, cried Dorothy Ann. Carlos opened the door and disappeared. He had fallen into a dungeon. That didn't bother the Frizz. She jumped right in, too, and shouted, "Follow me, kids!" This seemed like an unsound idea, but she was our teacher. Soon we were all down there together. The sound was bouncing off the walls in the long hallway. We followed the sound waves around a corner to the end of the hall. The sounds were coming through a door. Carlos opened it. Inside we saw someone sitting at an organ. It was Cornelia Contralto III. The original Cornelia had been her great-grandmother. From behind the organ, Cornelia pulled out Carlos's instrument. Carlos knew exactly what to do. He began taking things off the instrument. With so much stuff on it, the instrument can't vibrate the way it needs to, he explained. We gave a terrific concert. Everyone loved the amazing sounds from Carlos's invented instrument. Cornelia liked them so much she asked for the instrument. She said no sound museum was complete without it. She was right. The end.